right. So I hate podiums because I'm always afraid you won't see me. Although when Susan spoke, we're about the same height, so I was pretty confident, but still I don't like podia. And then I'm always afraid that my zipper is down when I come up here, so I had Jen signal me if that was the case, but it's not. So, all right, I'm happy to be here again. The last time I presented was actually with Susan in Houston for YSC, and I think I have a slide in the end of why this group is so important to me. So I'll save that story till later. So they asked me to speak about after treatment, but the word survivor, I think, is a very loaded term in our field, unfortunately. How many of you feel that term applies to you? Just raise your hands. So I'm just going to say the vast minority of you identify as survivor, and I think that's a problem. Because when we started using that term after cancer, I adhere to the term that is defined by the National Coalition of Cancer Survivors. And you may not have heard it because survivor is implying a survivorship care plan, implying you are now treated for cure, implying you're going to be alive for a very long time. And in fact, the definition of survivor is anyone diagnosed with cancer, their loved ones, their caregivers, and it starts when you are diagnosed, not when you stop treatment. So I would implore all of you to take back that term from the medical community, because you are survivors, no matter where you are in that journey of breast cancer. And what I'm speaking of today applies to everyone in this room, no matter what your experience is right now, and no matter if you are living with cancer, or if you're in love with someone who's had cancer. The first point is cancer is a noun. It's not an adjective. You are not a breast cancer young woman. You are not a breast cancer patient. You are a woman or a man with breast cancer. You are the spouse, best friend, mother, father of someone living with breast cancer. Never accept that as definitional. Never let it be the thing that describes you. Because women and men, we are all incredibly complicated. I am an oncologist. I am a father. All right? You have your own adjectives. Breast cancer is not one of them. But after treatment of breast cancer, whether the first time you've gotten treated or the treatments you are on right now, there is a process that happens. And it starts after you're told breast cancer is in your life. And it's this whole aspect of what we call in our field the new normal. What I think is very interesting about it is that we as oncologists in our community give you that term incredibly, not very thoughtfully, I'll say, because we say after your treatment has ended, after you've done the AC 6 times, or the Taxol for 12, or the Herceptin for a year, right? Or if you've even gotten that treatment with radiation for bone mets, we say, go off and live your life. You're done. What I still have to talk to my own patients about is the fact that you are not going to be who you were. You're going to be someone different. You can be someone better, but this process has changed you. So give yourself the time to figure out who that person is. Figure out the new normal, because it's how you redefine yourself in your own life, how you fit back into that life you had before. And it's an understanding of how you are strong today and where that strength is coming from. And I would say, for all of you in this room, it's going to be an evolution. You're now awake to the fact that young people do get cancer, that young people do face mortality at a young age. But instead of giving into that, I find folks respond to that in their own way. and they are very different from they were. And that evolution is here. This is Marissa Weiss. We used to talk about how long it would be to return to normal. And you know as well as I, the truth is you never return to normal. It's a transformational experience. And there are multiple aspects that are real. It's not all in your head. There's fear of recurrence. There are issues with body image, sexuality and intimacy, future fertility, and being a current parent. Healthy lifestyles is an issue regardless of whether you were treated for cure or you're living with metastatic disease. And what I will say to you who are living with metastatic disease, yes, you should exercise. You should absolutely follow a heart-healthy diet. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't we tell you not to do that? And then obviously, as Susan pointed out, we have to think about the opportunities. What have been lost? What can you do now? And also, how do you stay afloat in a world where your experience is defined by breast cancer? So fear of recurrence is incredibly real. It's that sense of anxiety that when you're done with your treatments, whether in the first line or with meds, it'll come back. And I just don't know when. When is that shoe going to drop? And who's at risk for fear of recurrence? You. You are at risk because this wasn't supposed to happen to you. If you have kids at home, looking in your kids' eyes can bring out this fear. And it doesn't matter how long you've been living with it. If you're alone, and this is why this group is so important, it's real when you look in the mirror and you see yourself and you think, is this going to happen to me again? And it's if you were diagnosed beyond stage 2, it's real. Because we tell you, your oncologists have to tell you, your risk of relapse is higher because of the stage you were diagnosed at. But what you may not know, or your loved one, no matter who they are, they will not tell you how scared they are because it's not a process that they can control for you. So please realize fear of recurrence is as social an experience as being diagnosed with breast cancer is. You can do something about it. And this is an example that was presented in 2017. There was a program called Conquer Fear. Here's what was done at Conquer Fear. And what they showed that compared to just relaxation exercises, you can reduce the anxiety, the experience of fear of recurrence. And it's really a shift in how you think about it, but more importantly, it's acknowledging that you have that fear, not running away from it. What about body image? This is a huge issue, and how I explain it to patients and their partners is, you can hear all the time, you are still beautiful to me. You are the same person you were before the diagnosis. If you didn't, and if you don't, believe that, that's a true phenomenon, because the biggest voice in everyone's head is the voice that's speaking back to you when you're naked, staring in a mirror. Okay? So that's a real thing that happens. And just I point out this study that we did at one of my institutions 7 years ago. If you had a mastectomy, it is not uncommon for people to think, I'm just going to get reconstructed breasts, it'll be fine. Not realizing that's a process. Multiple revisions all the way out to the nipple, and you have this sense that I'm just going to look like the model. I'm going to look like myself. But if you see this, of 300 women who had a mastectomy, 126 began reconstruction. Less than 15 of those women went all the way to having their nipple tattooed. That's a significant dropout. And I think part of the reason is we don't tell you up front this is going to be a process of multiple surgeries all the way out. But who should be telling folks who are living this experience? This group needs to be the one to relay that message and relay hope that with reconstruction, things will look very different, but they can look good. And the other thing I'll say about body image is that accept that time is your friend, all right? Time does heal a lot of stuff. And this is just another study in restoring body image where they did a group psychosocial intervention. So it was group therapy for women who are having issues with body image. The bottom line is group therapy helps women recover because you're doing it together. Sexual dysfunction, I'll talk about more tomorrow. It is incredibly common, and not a lot of people get help for it. There's a term I'm going to give you called breast-specific sensuality, and that's I'm going to go into tomorrow. Breast-specific sensuality is the phenomenon that your breasts are an erogenous organ. That's what sort of started that spark for sexuality, whether you're gay, straight, however you define. Realize it's lost. This is significant collateral damage. Realize, even if you had a lumpectomy, your experience of sensuality related to your breasts is lost. And this leads me to one area that I'm interested in exploring today, which is the importance of intimacy. Realize that couples are affected, all right? So instead of concentrating on any one activity that you used to enjoy, it's so important to redefine intimacy for couples. This is a site that's available for everybody, no matter where you live. It's built by Leslie Shover, who was recently at MD Anderson. It's Will to Love. This is a self-help guide for sexual health. It's fantastic, and you can navigate it and set your own goals. Fertility, you gotta discuss it before treatment. Multiple questions arise. I'm going quite fast because I'm running out of time. But for pregnancy after breast cancer, never let anybody tell you you need to abort your fetus. There's a phenomenon called the healthy mother effect. Right? If your body is healthy enough to get pregnant and deliver a child, your prognosis is better. So embrace the fact that you can get pregnant. And if you didn't have that discussion afterwards, I can personally talk to any of you about alternative parenthood and surrogacy. That's how I had my family. Realize also that breastfeeding, you're not going to see yourselves in those manuals. In fact, I wrote a blog about that because someone told me, after breastfeeding, I had no idea if I could even breastfeed. We need to create those images for our community because we want folks to know you can still do this. It's important. Healthy lifestyles, again, no matter if you're living with disease or not, very important to concentrate on this because breast cancer may not be the one that kills you. Heart disease will. In the Nurses' Health Study, if you walked at least 9 hours a week, they had a 50% reduction in worse outcomes. And this was an incredible study that was presented at San Antonio called Success C. Basically, it was a lifestyle intervention versus just standard what I do, which is, eat healthy and go off and, eat healthy. What they showed was there was no difference on survival on Success C. So an intensive lifestyle intervention did not matter. Didn't make any sense to any of us. What happened was, we gave you this as lifestyle intervention. It wasn't doable for a lot of people. But if you looked at the folks who completed the program, they lost more weight and they had a survival advantage. The blue line are the folks who were able to complete the lifestyle intervention. Cancer costs, again, are really significant. Get help. And these are some of the tips I have for you in terms of doing that. Learning the language of your insurance, seeking out social work at your institutions, and then asking your doctor, do I really need to do that? Really important question that you can have. So moving forward, realize YSC, just like your own communities, are a source of strength as well as support. Realize that the world is empty if you only think of the mountains, the rivers, and the cities. But knowing someone who thinks and feels like you do, even if they're not close by, makes the earth an inhabited garden. And with that, I'll close. Thank you very much.